Do you have a remote job and can work from anywhere on the planet, but would you like to do it from Spain? You've thought about it at some point, right? I know, you have. Surely in the last few months you have heard a lot about the Digital Nomad visa to work remotely from this country. Well, this time I bring you a super complete video that aims to be the definitive guide for all those interested in this type of residency. New installment of Maria's Great Guide, and this time dedicated to digital nomads. Not just complete, but very complete, as I will talk to you about all the updates, changes, and current requirements that you will need to meet in 2024 to benefit from this residency that many desire. First-hand information derived from our experience in the office, from the more than 70 digital nomad residency applications submitted and approved. Pay attention to the number 64, nothing more and nothing less. I will briefly explain what this residency consists of, whether it is better to apply for a visa or residency, who can obtain it, what type of professionals. I will explain the possibility of coming accompanied by family members, the deadlines to subsequently apply for Spanish nationality, and how to obtain the highly desired Spanish passport. How long can you stay outside of Spain after obtaining residency in order to subsequently apply for Spanish nationality? About the documents you will need to present, how you can submit your application, response times, taxes, and other expenses you will need to pay once obtained. Ladies and gentlemen, who gives more? Let's see, who gives more? For those who do not know me, my name is Maria Cardona. I am an immigration lawyer in Spain. Licensed lawyer and advisor, assisting with all types of procedures for both people who are already here and those who wish to emigrate to this divine country. That said, so stay until the end where I promise you a video full of information, the most complete you can have regarding this topic of digital nomads to work remotely from Skype. Let's go. Let's get started. Let's start by explaining what digital nomad residency is. Spanish law defines a digital nomad or international teleworker as individuals who perform work or professional activities remotely exclusively through electronic means for companies located outside of Spanish territory. If this is your case, you can apply for a visa if you are in your country of origin, or a residence permit if you are already living legally in Spain, or if you are enjoying your stay as a tourist. Very important, you cannot apply for this type of residency if you are in an irregular situation in Spanish territory, or if you are an asylum seeker. Even if you already have a red card, you cannot. The visa or residence permit is valid for working and residing throughout the national territory, including family members, if they meet the age requirements set by labor regulations. The years that the beneficiary of the digital nomad residency spends in Spain, which will be from 1 to 5 years, will count towards a hypothetical application for Spanish nationality by residency if the other requirements are met, as well as for permanent residency. Therefore, it is a visa or residence aimed at individuals with non-EU citizenship who wish to reside in Spain to carry out remote work or professional activities. Although it is true that one must work for companies based outside the national territory, in the case of exercising a professional activity, it will be allowed to work for a company located in Spain as long as the percentage of that work does not exceed 20% of the total professional activity. It is better to apply for a visa or residence depending on where you are at the time of your application, outside or inside Spain. Note that if you are already inside, you must be there legally. I repeat, you can apply for residency or a visa, as I mentioned earlier. If you are outside of Spain, you can apply for a digital nomad visa through the Spanish consulate in your country of residence or origin. I really do not recommend processing through embassies or consulates, as they sometimes use somewhat scattered criteria when processing and resolving. But hey, if you want to try, you can attempt it, although there are consulates that outright refuse to process it. The consular office can take up to 10 business days to provide a response. During this entire period, the consulate reserves the right to request additional information or documents, as well as a personal interview, if it sees the need. If the response is favorable, you will receive a visa for 1 year, and very importantly, this year will not count towards the application for nationality. The only thing that counts is residency, and this must be applied for once you are in Spain. That is to say, you can manage with your visa during its validity period 1 year, and once here in Spain, apply to the UG for residency as a nomad, another new application. And if they grant it to you, you will have 3 years of residency in front of you, renewable for another 2, and all that time will count towards the application for nationality. We will talk about it later. If you want, if any of you try to process it through the consulate and manage to do so, I would appreciate it if you could share your experience in the comments. I also benefit from your experiences, but you can, and it is the most advisable option, come directly to Spain with a tourist visa, or without a visa if you come from a country that does not require a visa. Then enter by meeting the requirements of your visit, and within the 90-day period that the stay lasts, or longer if you were granted a longer visa, apply for your nomadic residency from here. It may also happen that you are already in Spain, studying or with a non-lucrative visa, or as a highly qualified resident, and you apply for a digital nomad visa because suddenly you are more interested in that. Well, a digital nomad residency is much better than a study stay, which also does not count towards nationality, or also better than residency as a highly qualified individual, which is linked to a contract to a specific company, and if you are fired, you are out. In the office, we have already had the opportunity to submit applications for nomadic residency under these circumstances, and they are perfectly viable as long as you meet the other requirements, of course. But in this video, as always, I am going to focus on the application for residency as a digital nomad requested from Spain and not on the visa application. And who can obtain this residency? Who is the target audience? Well, in the office, we have already had clients with all kinds of professions. A large number of applicants are owners of their own businesses, and for example, these are online sales companies. We have had clients with marketing and consulting firms. This telework modality is also suitable for writers, programmers, graphic designers, photographers, and even influencers. But, very importantly, your clients must be companies. You can have individual clients, but you will need clients that are companies. It doesn't matter if you are a freelancer or a contractor, or if you are employed, meaning that you maintain an employment relationship with your company. If you can demonstrate that you meet the economic requirements, that you earn what the law demands, which we will detail later, you show that you can carry out the activity remotely from Spain, or, in the case of being employed, that your company allows you to telework from this country. If you meet all of this, you are likely a perfect candidate for the nomad visa. The differences between applying for a nomad residence as a self-employed person in the case of freelancers or contractors, or as an employed worker, will be very, very noticeable. And sometimes the contracts that link a contractor to the company blur the lines of a true employment or dependency relationship, which would be a false self-employed person in Spain. And it is such that sometimes clients ask me in consultations, how is it possible to know if I am a contractor or employed? There are people who do not know it well. Sometimes it is confusing. Let me explain briefly. The figure of the freelancer is clearer. The freelancer sets their own times, costs, and can work for multiple companies without an exclusivity clause. Their mode of payment is through invoices for the services they provide. However, the contractor will be subject to the conditions of the company that hires them and will normally work exclusively for it. The company will plan their schedule, meetings, and working hours. In addition, the contractor will be part of the team. In contrast, the freelancer works alone until the project's required objective is met. The contractor will be paid a fee for their work on a monthly basis for the duration of the project. But very importantly, both the freelancer and the contractor must personally handle the payment of the taxes arising from their activity. And the differences between the contractor and the employee are sometimes diffuse but detectable. If you join your company in a dependent employment relationship, you are employed and linked to a contract that may be indefinite or temporary, depending on the country. You will generally have paid vacations, withholdings for your retirement, and a series of benefits that are not provided in the freelance or contractor relationship. The contractor model is very common as a way for American companies to hire. Let's be clear, both the freelancer and the contractor, as well as the employee, can apply for residency as a digital nomad, but the first two must apply as self-employed and must prove that they were working in that capacity during the 3 months prior to the application, presenting invoices, contracts, and paid taxes. The employee must apply as such, and however, must present payslips or a certified work contract. But the most important thing in this last case will be to determine In which country will your social security be paid? We will talk about that later. Relatives of the digital nomad, can they accompany them? What benefits will they have? The holder of a digital nomad residency in Spain will have the possibility to be accompanied by their family members or for them to apply for residency after the holder has obtained it. And which family members can take advantage of this possibility? Well, not everyone. The spouse can, as well as a person in a similar affective relationship, such as a formally established domestic partnership, minor children, or adult children who are economically dependent on the holder and have not formed a family unit by themselves, as well as dependent ascendants. The relatives of the teleworker will have the same residency permit as the teleworker with the same duration, and as we mentioned earlier, they will be beneficiaries of a work permit as long as they are of working age. Is it possible to obtain Spanish nationality as a digital nomad? Of course it is. And to be frank, the goal of many of my clients when applying for this residency, especially my Latin American clients, is to stay in Spain long enough to later apply for Spanish nationality. In the case of foreigners from Ibero-American countries, a very reduced criterion applies, requiring only that they have legally and continuously resided for 2 years. Only 2 years. That is to say, the digital nomad residency is granted for 3 years, but after 2 years of residency in Spain, one can apply for Spanish nationality by taking a super easy exam. Come on, at least I don't have any clients who have failed it yet. I advise taking this exam about 3 months before completing the 2 years of residency, and that way it's one thing done. This reduced period of 2 years of residency required to apply for Spanish nationality also applies to foreigners from Ibero-American countries, to Andorrans, Filipinos, nationals from Equatorial Guinea, Portugal, or people of Sephardic origin. And what requirements must a digital nomad applicant meet to work remotely from Spain? Although we already mentioned some, I will list them for you. 1. You must prove that you have sufficient financial resources for yourself and for the family members accompanying you. For the holders, a monthly amount representing 200% of the minimum interprofessional wage will be required, €30,240 per year, €2,520 per month. For family units that include 2 people, the holder plus 1 family member, at least 75% of the minimum interprofessional wage will be required. This is €11,340 per year, €945. And finally, 25% of the minimum interprofessional wage will be required for each additional member, which is €3,780 per year, €315 per month. You will be able to demonstrate that you have the required financial means by combining your monthly income with savings or solely with your monthly income. And very importantly, you must present bank statements from the last 3 months to prove that you actually earn what you claim, or your payslips or invoices indicate. If you have an invoice or payslip indicating that you earned, for example, €3,000 in October, this amount must be reflected in your bank account, an entry of €3,000. Over there, you must work for a company registered outside the national territory, outside of Spain, and receive most of your income from companies outside the country. You will be allowed to obtain benefits from activities coming from Spain, but only as long as we mentioned earlier, these earnings do not exceed more than 20% of your billing. Remember, your client or clients must be companies, not individuals. 3. You must prove your status as a graduate or postgraduate from a recognized university, or have studied vocational training, or have been a student of recognized prestigious business schools, presenting a copy of the degree, or alternatively providing documentation that proves a minimum of 3 years of professional experience in roles similar to that of an international teleworker, which can be considered equivalent to that qualification. The truth is, in the office, we do not submit the files providing one thing or another. We provide everything. The more documents, the better. Important. In the case of regulated professions, the recognition of the degree must be proven. A big kiss to Guillermo, a doctor in the area of digital nomad telemedicine. We will make it. We will make you drive your Aston Martin through the streets of Madrid. I promise you. 4. Regarding the social security of teleworkers, in the case of self-employed individuals, they can register directly with Social Security once authorization is obtained. That is, in the special regime for self-employed workers, the RITA. Therefore, a commitment to register in the RITA must be submitted. However, for the case of contracted employees, two situations may arise. There is the possibility of not having to register the worker with Social Security. Spanish, when there is an agreement signed between Spain and the country where the teleworker is affiliated with their social security system, and thus they would maintain their affiliation in their country of origin, needing to obtain from the Social Security Administration of origin a document that certifies coverage based on the activity of the Social Security Administration to that international agreement while the worker provides services in Spain, a document that is very difficult to obtain in countries like the United States or Chile. Let me explain. If, for example, you are Chilean and work for a US company, since there is an agreement between the United States and Spain, you must present a certificate indicating that as a posted worker, you will continue to be registered in the US Social Security system. Let's see, who is the handsome one that manages to get the coveted certificate? As a curiosity, I tell you that if you are an employee and, for example, you work for a company from Venezuela in Spain and there is an agreement with Venezuela, it states that when a worker is posted from Venezuela to Spain, they will continue to be registered in the Venezuelan Social Security for a period not exceeding 2 years, with the possibility of requesting an extension for 1 more year. Well, in this case, the residence will not be granted for 3 years but for 2, and then it will need to be recovered. You don't know this, do you? And in the case that there is no agreement, the company must register with the Spanish Social Security and provide the accreditation or proof of registration. Complicated requirement. Let's see, how do you tell your company that it has to register with the Spanish Social Security because of your whim to reside here? Well, look, we have already had several cases where they have done it. It is not impossible. The application will then be accompanied by a responsible declaration from the company. And what documentation will you need to gather to submit this application? Well, a lot of documentation. Therefore, before buying your plane tickets to Spain, I recommend planning very well the documents you will need to bring, as there will be documents that can be complicated to obtain while in Spain. So, don't leave things until the end, or else you'll regret it. Number 1. A complete copy of your passport, all pages. Very important, your passport must have an entry stamp. So, if you come from a country within the Schengen area and therefore your passport was not stamped upon entering Spain, you will need to provide a declaration of entry. 2. Fee, which you cannot pay. If you do not have an assigned NIE number, but your representative lawyer can do it for you. If you come accompanied by a family member or family members, each one will have to pay their corresponding fee. And how much is this fee? 76 euros each. 3. Form signed by the applicant, and each family member will sign their own form. 4. You must demonstrate 3 months of employment, either dependent or independent. In the case that you are a dependent worker, contract, payslip, work history. For contractors and freelancers, invoices, contracts, taxes. 5. Documents that prove that the company you work for has been active for at least 1 year and provide the articles of incorporation or the commercial registry. 6. Economic means. You must demonstrate that you actually, as we said, receive the required economic means, and this is done through your bank statements. 7. Criminal record certificate from the country or countries where you have resided during the last 2 years, duly legalized, and a responsible declaration of the absence of records in the last 5 years. In the case that the applicant holds a residence or stay permit in Spain for more than 6 months, it will not be necessary to provide the records. 8. A letter from the foreign company authorizing remote work. This letter must be signed by its representative, whose identity must be reliably verified. 9. Regarding the need to provide or not provide private insurance, several scenarios may arise. General rule. The applicant must have a public or private health insurance contracted with an insurance entity authorized to operate in Spain, which must remain active during the validity period of the authorization. Travel insurance will not be considered valid. But in the case that there is no applicable agreement regarding Social Security, this requirement will be understood as fulfilled by providing a commitment to comply with Social Security obligations. On the other hand, if the applicant is covered by an agreement regarding Social Security and it provides health coverage for insured workers in a state that operates in the territory of another state, in this case Spain, the certificate we mentioned earlier, which is difficult to obtain, must be provided. And finally, If the applicant is covered by an agreement regarding Social Security, but it does not provide such coverage, the applicant must prove that they have public or private health insurance that offers coverage comparable to that provided by the national health system. And be careful, if you are going to carry out your professional activity as a self-employed person in Spain, you will have to pay your self-employment fee. And in that case, it will not be necessary to have insurance, neither for you nor for your family members. 10. For self-employed individuals, a responsible declaration must be provided. That includes the commitment to comply with Social Security obligations prior to the start of work or professional activity. For employees, and in the case of no coverage through an agreement regarding Social Security, proof of the company's registration or justification of the application for its registration in the Spanish Social Security must be provided. 11. Accreditation of degree or professional experience. If you are a graduate or postgraduate from a recognized prestigious university, you must prove it by presenting your degree, or alternatively, by providing documentation that certifies a minimum of 3 years of professional experience in functions similar to those of the position to be held, and that can be considered equivalent to the aforementioned degree condition. As I mentioned, in the case of intending to practice regulated professions, the homologation of the degree must be accredited according to the sectoral regulations related to its practice. This applies to doctors, lawyers, architects, and be careful, if you bring your family members with you, you must include documents in the file that prove the family relationship, such as the marriage certificate, birth certificates, all these documents legalized or apostilled and with less than 3 months of validity. Oh, and if the children are over 21 years old, economic dependency must be proven. Family members must provide a criminal record certificate as long as they are of legal age. And at this point, how can you submit your application for digital nomad residency in Spain? Well, the application for digital nomad residency must be submitted to the Large Companies Unit, the UGE for friends. The UGE is located in Madrid and has nothing to do with immigration, which is a widespread confusion regarding this detail. They will belong to different ministries. And on the other hand, importantly, you cannot go yourself with your papers to submit the file in person at the UGE. It is necessary to do it electronically or through your digital certificate if you already have residency in Spain. You dare to do it either through your representative or lawyer. Therefore, even if you have this digital certificate, I strongly advise submitting it with guidance and through a lawyer experienced in this type of procedure. And what will be the resolution period? The UGE will have 20 business days to resolve your file. And if it has not resolved within that period, silence is positive, meaning it is approved. However, during those 20 days, the UGE may request additional documents, and this request will interrupt the period, which will resume once you respond. I recommend arriving from the country of origin with all or most of the documents well prepared, and once in Spain, submit them as soon as possible. This way, if the file encounters any issues and is resolved negatively, in case this defect can be corrected, there would still be time to resubmit, and you would have a second chance. What you hear is Blanquita, who won't let me record, but that's the way of mothers, of self-employed mothers. Believe me, submitting your file as soon as possible is a very, very useful piece of advice. And well, once we have our file approved, what taxes or other expenses should we expect? The self-employed nomad must register for an economic activity in Spain after obtaining a favorable resolution and will have to submit quarterly forms for VAT and IRPF. But there is a possibility for a digital nomad in Spain to apply for a special regime applicable to workers, professionals, entrepreneurs, and investors relocated to Spanish territory, as long as 2 conditions are met. 1, that you have not had a residence in Spain in the previous 5 years. 2, that it is communicated within 6 months to the tax agency from the obtaining of your digital nomad residence that you hold this residence, and therefore a beneficial tax regime applies with a lower tax rate that will last for up to 5 years. This lower tax rate will apply to your income tax for your IRPF and will be 24% as long as the result of your activity as a nomad does not exceed $600,000 euros. If it exceeds this amount, you will move to a tax rate of 48%. The Model 151 has recently been approved, which will be the one to be submitted in the case of being a resident in Spain as an international teleworker, as well as Model 149 for communication to exercise the option to be taxed under the special regime. But the digital nomad may also be required to pay other taxes, such as the value-added tax, VAT, which applies to commercial transactions. The standard VAT rate is 21%, although there are some exceptions for specific products and services, such as those offered to non-EU countries, which will be the case for freelancers providing services to foreign companies. These types of invoices will be exempt from VAT. Be mindful of the taxes you will have to pay in other countries where work is performed or products are sold. It is important to pay attention to treaties to avoid double taxation. In addition to these taxes, a digital nomad must pay their self-employed fee if they work as a freelancer or contractor, and they will likely need to pay an advisor or accountant to ensure they comply correctly and on time with tax obligations. And how much does the self-employed fee cost? During the first 12 months, the monthly fee will be €80 for those who contribute based on the NEMA. But from month 12 to 24, if the income exceeds the minimum professional salary, the fee corresponding to their contribution bracket will be applied based on net earnings, meaning the discount is lost. And what are these brackets? Well, we would directly have to go to bracket 10, where self-employed individuals with monthly net incomes between €2,330 and less than or equal to €2,760 per month are concentrated. These self-employed individuals will pay €340 in 2024 and €415 in 2025. There are 15 brackets, and in the last one, bracket 15, are the self-employed individuals who earn more than €6,000 per month, who will pay €530 in 2024 and €590 in 2025. And that's it for today's video, right, Blanquita? Did it meet your expectations or not? I hope that all the information I provide is very useful to you. In the description, I leave the link to my social media so you can follow me. And if you like this video, you can subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be informed about other videos I publish that are just as interesting or more than this one. And remember, if you need help with your digital nomad process, you can count on me. With my team, a big hug and see you in the next video, which will be soon. Goodbye. Oh, Blanquita, what a burden you're going to give me. But I have one that, how beautiful, dear. I know I can't hold anything against you. You're doing what you can. If you have a mother from Bukhan, what is your mother doing here talking in front of this, my daughter? Oh, what a boring life. I know what a mother she is. Bye.